about what I believe and what I represent and why I'm so evil. But let's talk about the true evil, the New York Post. So New York Post wrote this insane article, expected. Wall Street Journal wrote about it as well, because it's the 25th anniversary of 9/11. Zoran Mamdani is the mayor, as you guys know. And obviously, he's going to attend the 25th anniversary of 9/11, as every mayor has attended the anniversary of 9/11. So once again, we're faced with the predicament of how racist can people get before, the rest of polite society turn around and say, okay, enough is fucking enough. You need to dial it back. This time, especially, this comes after Zoran Mamdani did the whole video calling Benjamin Netanyahu a war criminal, which and demanded his arrest from the federal government. Israel has put the crosshairs on Zoran once again in pretty aggressive ways. I'm going to say it out loud. This kind of stuff is a coalition of, these kinds of news articles is a coalition of, homegrown Islamophobia and Zionist Hasbara pressure. It's not a secret that Israel is fomenting Islamophobia because they recognize that they are indefensible. They recognize that their propaganda apparatus can no longer focus on making Israel look good. They know this already. They've lost the Western world. They've lost an entire generation, and they've certainly lost the Western world. But the one thing that the Israeli Foreign Ministry, which oversees the Hasbara operations, has recognized is that Americans are still very Islamophobic. So instead of trying to defend Israel, Israel defenders will now try to make people as Islamophobic as possible. Okay? There's drop site reporting on this. They uncovered the Israeli Foreign Ministry's own PowerPoints on this issue. They went back, they polled the people, they realized that nobody really fucks with Israel anymore, but at least people hate Muslims, and Israel can keep tweaking the dial of Islamophobia as aggressively as possible, right? And this is very clearly one of those attempts. Zoran Mamdani is a prominent Muslim politician. He's the mayor of New York. They're going to try to increase the Islamophobia that he's receiving to the best of his ability, to the best of their ability, especially at a time when a new YouGov poll shows that 49% of Americans think Netanyahu should be arrested. Every single audience group that isn't conservative has either a majority or clear plurality, including white people. A plurality of white people, which are the least woke demographic in this country, are in favor of arresting Benjamin Netanyahu. It's clear, unless you're on the American right, you support arresting Netanyahu. So this is part of the reason why they are aggressively pushing the Zoran Mamdani shit. Okay? In an effort to spread more racism and Islamophobia against Mamdani, the New York Times implies that the stabbing of an Asian man and a Jewish man was somehow connected to Mamdani's call for Netanyahu's arrest. They use a disturbing attack to shield a man committing mass atrocities from criticism. So obviously mainstream media, it's not just the New York Post that's doing this. New York Times is doing a variant of this as well. Wall Street Journal is doing a variant of this as well. So it's not just like the dish rags such as New York Post that's attacking Zoran Mamdani and claiming that he is a vicious anti-Semite, a Hamasnik, a person that is responsible for Jew hatred growing in the country, and also a Muslim terrorist. So Judd Legume, he saw this article in the New York Post, which I didn't even cover because it's fucking ridiculous. But it was this article came out in the New York Post that claimed thousands of 9/11 families demand Mamdani be banned from the 25th anniversary ceremony. Stay away. Families of 9/11 victims are demanding Mayor Mamdani, pictured embracing Imam Siraj Wahhabi, an unindicted co-conspirator in the 1993 World Trade Center bombing, be barred from the 25th anniversary ceremony at Ground Zero and have collected more than 3,600 petition signatures in less than a week. Our objection is based on his public record, his failure to meaningfully acknowledge the horror of that day, and his employment of support for or association with individuals who have minimized 9/11, defended terrorists, or even suggested America deserved the attack, said Giovanni Galante, whose 29-year-old wife, Grace, was among the 2,977 innocents killed. Okay? Well, here's the thing. Judd Legume went in and actually did real journalism. Turns out there are still some real journalists out there. he investigated. This New York Post cover, 1,000 9/11 families demand Mamdani be banned from 25th anniversary, is a brazen lie. How do I know? I interviewed the organizer of the petition. He admitted that there is no list of 9/11 families seeking to ban Mamdani from the anniversary ceremony. Even the smaller estimate that appears in the text of the article, 300 9/11 families, is just an estimate based on the organizer's assumptions about how the petition spread. I don't go through the list and look at the names, he said. Nevertheless, the claims in the New York Post article have spread widely on conservative websites, from Fox News all the way down to ZBS, another conservative website. Okay? So he interviewed the petition organizer, including his belief that Mamdani wants to get rid of all Jewish people and believes 9/11 should have happened to us and Zohran Mamdani's belief that 9/11 should have happened, right? That's what the petition organizer is claiming. So he's an unbelievably racist guy. Okay? Fox News bringing you up in their Zohran bits every chance they get, mentions you at 0.44. Oh, yeah. They're saying that Zohran is also inciting hatred towards homeowners, and he's trying to get homeowners killed. But this is a separate story. I mean, they're going into full tilt panic at this point. Okay? Zohran Mamdani, who was Muslim, stood in the manner of a vizier awaiting his tribute, his beard oriented towards Mecca, his silence thick as attar, his cheekbones set in the geometry of jihad. A muezzin was heard in his heart. He was not smiling. The gates of Vienna shuddered. Yeah, when he doesn't smile, the evil shows, says Josh Wolf. When Zohran Mamdani smiles, he smiles Islamic style. When he doesn't smile, he also is doing it in an Islamic manner. Of course, smiling. When Zohran Mamdani smiles, he's smiling for jihad. When he's not smiling, he's also angry to do even, you guessed it, more jihad. It's always evil. He's always doing Islamic style jihad. Turns out it's just fucking racism. Okay? Turns out that's all this is. But yeah, E.L. Jacoby got his licks in as well. Israel's most annoying propagandist, in a legion of annoying propagandists for Israel. 9/11 families aren't against Zohran because he's Muslim. They're against him because he campaigned with someone who said that their family members deserve to be killed on 9/11. I never said that. Okay? I don't believe that. Doesn't matter. People just lie about that quote all day, every day. But I responded to it. Because I thought, oh, Jesus Christ, enough is enough. These guys are fucking being unbelievably racist towards Zohran. Okay? To which I responded with, and it actually was received fairly positively on Twitter, which was shocking. I said, 7 years ago, I said, we brought 9/11 upon ourselves. 7 years ago, I apologized for my language. Since then, I've helped get a 9/11 first responder elected into office. His name is Adam Hamawi, which you guys also called a terrorist because he's Muslim. I don't think Zionists care about 9/11 beyond fomenting Islamophobia. And that's the truth. That's all this is. Okay? That's all this is. The idea that an American, such as myself, could say, we brought 9/11 upon ourselves, or we deserve 9/11 to any degree, is, of course, destroyed when the American that's saying that is obviously not a real American, okay? I'm too Muslim to have said such a thing, okay? And, of course, it doesn't even fucking matter if I say, hey, look, I shouldn't have used the language of deserved, okay? Because it's very clearly being weaponized by the right. This was in 2019, and it's still being weaponized again, okay? But ultimately, it's because I'm not an American in the eyes of all these people, okay? I'm not an American. I'm not a real American. Having said that, however, 1 million people, from comedians to commentators, have also had similar takes on 9/11, if not far worse takes on 9/11. Tony Hinchcliffe has made a shit ton. Tony Hinchcliffe has made a shit ton of jokes, and nobody on the Republican side gave a shit. Nobody cares about Bill Maher's takes about 9/11, who Bill Maher said something far worse than anything I said right after 9/11. He lost his job for it, but no one ever gives a shit about his takes on 9/11 now. So it turns out there's a couple different components in the 9/11 story. One, are you white? Are you white enough? If you're Muslim and you have any opinions on 9/11, that means you love 9/11. You want more 9/11s to happen. Okay? And perhaps even more importantly than that, are you pro-Israel? Are you pro-American imperialism? If you're pro-American imperialism, and better yet, more importantly than pro-American imperialism, are you pro-Israel? Because if you're pro-Israel and pro-American imperialism, then it doesn't matter what you've said about 9/11. You're good. You're a good guy. That's it. Donald Trump has said more fucked up things about 9/11 than I ever could. Donald Trump, on the morning of 9/11, called in to a radio show to say, well, at least my Trump Tower is now the highest building standing on Wall Street. That's real. Look it up. But Donald Trump, once again, white, Republican, American president, super pro-Israel. It doesn't even fucking matter. Do you understand? So there are a lot of people who want to be very precious about who gets to talk about 9/11 and how they get to talk about 9/11. It's completely cynical. It's completely cynical, and we have to stop playing this fucking game. That's it. This was a tragedy, and you are cynically trying to use this tragedy to foment Islamophobia, because that's the reality. You don't give a shit. You don't give a shit about the victims. You don't give a shit about the impact. You just want to use this horrible tragedy where almost 3,000 Americans died to continue lying about Muslims, to continue shitting on Muslims, oftentimes at the behest of Israel. So, sucks to suck. Okay? Yeah, I mean, here's another example. Breitbart News. Adam Howie makes excuse for Hassan's America Deserved 9/11 comments. If I had to ramble for 8 hours, I don't know what would come out of my mouth. I think we all have to put it all in perspective. Well, he's a 9/11 first responder. But once again, it doesn't even matter, right? Because he's Muslim. He's Muslim and therefore responsible for 9/11. That is precisely how they presented this. Adam Hamawi is the greatest example of no matter how hard you serve this country, even if you literally were there at ground zero saving fucking lives, as Adam Hamawi was, as long as you're Muslim, you did 9/11. Okay? That's it. That's it. Because at the end of the day, the people that constantly advance this, the people that are not normal at all, by the way, because this is not a normally shared sentiment, but the people that constantly advance this agenda to be like, oh, this guy loved 9/11. He loves 9/11 over and over and over again. Despite the fact that, again, I apologize for the language I used in 2019. The people that are cynically still making this a salient issue or trying to make this a salient issue are doing so in a way that most people understand is cynical. Okay? People understand. Average, normal Americans understand that this shit is cynical as fuck. Okay? It's cynical as fuck. It's racist as fuck. You don't have to put up with it. It's 2026. Suck my fucking dick. Okay? It's 2026. Donald Trump is entertaining giving nuclear arms to the country that is perhaps most responsible for 9/11, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Nobody gives a shit. Okay? We give more of a shit than clearly the Republicans do. So shut the fuck up. Anyway. Yeah, and it's there's also obviously a generational difference here as well, but yeah, the majority of the families of 9/11 victims voted for Zohran Mamdani. Families of 9/11 victims want to ban Mamdani from the sacred 25th anniversary at Ground Zero. Like, shut the fuck up, dude. Shut the fuck up. Being a 9/11 victim family member doesn't give you permission to be a racist asshole, okay? And as a matter of fact, I suspect that plenty of other 9/11 victim family members are probably going to start yelling about these dumb dickheads who are trying to turn the 25th anniversary of 9/11, this tragedy, to an insane racism seminar for some fucking weird reason. How selfish. How ridiculous. Who the fuck do you think you are, man? Anyway. Where were we? What else were we going to talk about? Yeah, Matt Iglesias. Yeah, speaking of which, by the way, Prem Talker is right. He says, nothing shows how much of a bubble Twitter has become than this. The media politics world on here went absolutely nuts on Zohran Mamdani after he called for Netanyahu's arrest. If you were only on here, you'd think he was in trouble. Turns out most of America agrees with him. Yeah. But this is also part of the reason why they're going crazy. Like, they're going crazy mode on Zohran. Israeli infiltration and interception of American consciousness continues. Obviously, it's not as successful. Having said that, however, that's not stopping them from trying. They're spending billions at this point. I believe a Quincy Institute guy went on Steve Bannon to talk about it. I bookmarked it. Let me find that video first. Here it is.